During my last news conference, I said I would issue a statement at the proper time regarding a recent shooting incident involving Detective L.R. Selman. I stated at that time that the matter was before the Dallas County Grand Jury for its consideration and that our own investigation was still in progress. Today, the Dallas County Grand Jury no-bail Detective Selman in the shooting death of Guy Daniel Borland, the outgrowth of an incident that occurred on September 4th. I am convinced, and the grand jury action sustains my view, that Detective Selman fired his weapon only because he was in fear of his life. Detective Selman can be faulted, however, for his lack of good judgment in the events that led up to the shooting. As a consequence, I have today suspended Detective Selman for a period of 30 days. I would like to emphasize that I am suspending Detective Selman for his actions leading up to the shooting and not for the shooting itself. The Dallas County Grand Jury is a legal body that has the power to subpoena witnesses, and they did so in this case. We put all of the facts as we were able to determine them before the grand jury for their consideration, and I felt it was their decision to make as to whether or not Detective Selman should be held accountable for the death of Mr. Borland. As a result of their decision to no bail Detective Selman, I am today taking what action I have taken as an administrative action against him for the judgment he exercised, the lack of judgment he exercised at the scene of the shooting incident. And I wanted to emphasize a point that we have put the shooting case itself before the grand jury for their decision, and this is not a decision I think that I should be making. This is a decision that I think they should make, and they have made it. And I've made my decision now to suspend Detective Selman for a period of 30 days as an administrative action of this incident, not because of the shooting itself. And I'll be glad to field any questions you may have now concerning this case.
Will he go back on the Metro Squad following that?
I'm sorry, two of you at one time.
How do you fault Detective Selman for leaving the car? What should he have done?
There is no justification, as we can determine from the investigation, that he had any legal authority to approach this vehicle and stop these people for questioning. There was some justification for his suspicion, but nevertheless we feel that there was not complete justification for his approach and initial stopping of the people in the truck.
When he's returned after his 30 days, Chief, will he go back on the Metro Squad?
No, he will not go back on the Metro Squad, and he will be relieved of field duties and not be reassigned to field duties. In the future, he will be on administrative or office duties rather than field duty assignment.
Chief, in this investigation, did it boil down to a question of Officer Selman's word against Mike Wallace's word, for instance?
No, it didn't. We had some witness to this case, as you know. We also were able to determine through our investigative techniques that there was some conflict in the testimony. There was some, in my opinion, false statements on the part of Mr. Wallace. There was some parts of this investigation that we could not resolve completely to our satisfaction. But now that we have this investigation completed and the results made known to the grand jury, we feel that we've done all that could possibly be done to do a complete and thorough investigation in this particular case.
Is that office assignment permanent? Administrative assignment permanent?
It will be. He will be reassigned upon returning to duty after 30 days of being off, and at that time we will assign him to an administrative task, and that will be indefinitely.
Chief, on you say statements about Mr. Wallace were false and false. How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, we were able to determine through a polygraph examination that some of the statements that Mr. Wallace made were not correct according to the polygraph examiner. Also, he made some statements at the scene indicating that he was mistreated in many ways, most of which cannot be substantiated by the witnesses and the officer's testimony at the scene. And I want it understood at this point that he proceeded to make a lot of public statements before the grand jury concluded their deliberations, and some of these statements, in my opinion, were not true, and I think this was bad judgment on his part to publicly announce his statements prior to the time the grand jury came to conclusion. And I want very much it understood that we feel that he did make some false statements in some of the statements that he made.
Were polygraph tests given to two officers involved?
Polygraph examination was given to one of the officers involved. It was not given to Detective Selman. Because of his mental condition, he felt that it would not be a proper and conclusive test and declined to take the test because of that reason.
Your statement says that Selman is not faulted for the shooting itself. In a case like this, because he felt that his life was in danger, how in a case like this could you ever determine whether or not an officer felt his life was in danger except by the officer's own words?
We have concluded conclusively that that the wrench was in the seat of the truck. We are convinced from the investigation that Mr. Borland did bring the wrench up from the floorboard of the truck in a manner as has been stated, and that because of this, because of his actions and the instrument that was thought to be a gun, we feel that Detective Selman was in fear of his life. He was protecting himself because of this, and this is the way the grand jury, I'm sure, felt too. Otherwise, they would not have no-billed Detective Selman.
How was it looking at the actual brought the wrench
Through our interrogation of Mr. Wallace, through interrogation of other witnesses at the scene, Selman included, and the location of the wrench at the time the investigating officers recovered it, a number of factors in the investigation.
Wallace then said that the man left the wrench. In what manner? For self-protection? He thought he was about to be physically attacked?
The only thing we could determine through the polygraph examination was the fact that Mr. Wallace was aware, in our opinion, that he did have the wrench in his hand.
Were there any instances in which you found Detective Selman's story to be inaccurate?
We're not sure at this point if they could be considered inaccurate or not. Selman, of course, as other people at the scene, were in a state of panic almost, and we were not able to conclude what Selman told us in a couple of instances, whether it was actually what happened or not. And we're not sure if he even knows as a result of what happened. And these are some of the points that we could not resolve satisfactorily to our own.
Mr. Wallace said in his original statement, Chief, that if there was an obscene gesture made to the detective, that he wasn't aware of this. Did this show up to be accurate in his polygraph test?
Polygraph examination the polygraph examiner concluded that he did know that the obscene gesture was made by Mr. Borland.
Who was the polygraph examiner? Was it the police department?
Yes, police department examiner.
Are you satisfied with the police handling of Mike Wallace, that it was fair in every respect, or have you found any fault whatsoever in the manner in which he was handled by police officers?
Well, he said that his hands were handcuffed behind him. He was brought to the station in that manner. He was denied access to counsel, and this is not true. He did have handcuffs on immediately upon the arrival at the scene of Detective Captain Bob Dixon. The handcuffs were removed at that time, and they were placed on him in front. He was given warning at that time, and some of the statements that he's made just do not, in my opinion, hold up in this respect.
What was the necessity of handcuffing him at all in the police station?
Well, the officers at the scene were not sure at that point what had happened. They were not sure if he were involved and to what extent, and they were having to handle the investigation with that in mind, rather than whether or not he was an innocent bystander.
Is that typical procedure then?
Well, in any shooting situation like this, where you're not sure what happened, what has resulted, then the officers would respond in a like manner to be sure that no other injury had developed or any other action developed on the part of the people involved.
Do you think that this could set a precedent, since you're suspending him for actions leading up to the shooting and not the shooting, for any future cases where people are stopped on the street and possibly...
Every case must be handled individually, and every case must be decided individually. This is a unique case in that, in my opinion, Selman used bad judgment. He did not have the authority to approach the truck and question these people under existing circumstances. However, once he got involved in the case, and the events leading up to the shooting happened so fast that Selman reacted as any policeman ordinarily would react, to save fear for his own life and react accordingly. So I think this is a unique case, and every case in the future will have to be handled individually rather than trying to determine whether or not this is a precedent for any future cases. I think they'll